Hi, it's Laura at Aquamarine 18 Tarot and Books. Thanks for stopping by my channel today. Welcome. I am here with a type of video that I really like when other people make it, and that is the what worked and didn't work so well with my planner and journal system 2025 video. So I want to share what I've been doing. I did make a video way back, I think late 2024, about my kind of planner intentions for 2025. So here I'll be sharing kind of what of that worked, what did not, and how that's informing my plans for 2026. I have here a plain notebook, a honeycomb almanac, a Hobonichi cousin, and a Kinbor Weeks, which is what I've been using for the year 2025 for journaling, planning, and related activities. I don't have the books in for 2026 yet. Things are still in the mail. But in terms of the actual selection of books, I really haven't changed anything. I will be using a Kinbor Weeks, a Hobonichi cousin, a honeycomb almanac, and a plain lined notebook again for 2026. So, I wouldn't have anything new to show in that sense anyway. So I want to go through the four from kind of what I have the least to say about to the most. Some of what I've done this year has really worked well for me, and I plan to keep doing virtually unchanged. Other things I want to change, particularly in these two books, some of the sections really didn't get a lot of good use, and I would like to change that. So we'll be definitely interested in any suggestions that you might have. So this plain notebook is where I do journaling for longer readings, like, full moon tarot readings or birthday readings or things like that I might do for myself. It's also where I write down my forecasts for the season, which I use geomancy for, and then I go back and look at the forecast after the season has passed and write a kind of retrospective of, where I was accurate, where I could have been more accurate. This is not something I plan on changing. I like these particular lined books just because they have a good paper quality and they are quite affordable. I'm not dedicated to absolutely using this specific lined notebook when this one becomes full and it's time for another one, but having a lined notebook that is plain like this is something that I plan to keep doing in exactly the same way. I'm not decorative in these books. It's just handwriting, but I do just like having that plain notebook space. And this is, my last couple of journals have been this specific book. I like the paper and I like the price. So I will be keeping that effectively the same for 2026. The Honeycomb Almanac is also something that I'm keeping mostly the same for 2026. I already have ordered my book. It hasn't arrived yet. It got stalled amidst disruptions to the postal service, but I expect it soon. The only real change that I've made in terms of the book itself is to change size. So for 2025, I had tried this size, which is the larger of the two sizes that Honeycomb offers. The year prior, I had this smaller one. They're not really that far off in terms of dimensions, but it's a bit of a difference. And I found I didn't really need the extra space. So I've decided to go back to the smaller book. But other than that, how I use this will not change much. The Honeycomb Almanac is a really cool tool for folks who are unfamiliar with it. It's a personalized astrology resource. You can customize what it comes with in a lot of respects. It comes with a monthly and weekly calendar. No matter what you order, it will include some solar returns if you want. Annual perfections and zodiacal releasing are optional and they're part of a Hellenistic plugin that I do get. It includes charts for and information about the lunations, the full moons and new moons. It has some charts around transit timelines and things like that. And it's customized, right? So everything is keyed to your own birth chart, which I think is really cool. So, for example, for annual perfections, this shows, where calendar year 2025, which is what this book encompasses, falls in terms of perfecting my second house, and then my third. My birthday is in March, so that's where that changes, because each time for your birthday, it changes at the solar return, right? So all of these things are different depending on your own choices when you order. The zodiacal releasing, you can choose from a number of different lots to release from. Again, this is a Hellenistic astrology technique. You don't have to get zodiacal releasing in your book if you don't want to. The core of the book, I'll try to find one with not a lot of writing on it. Yeah, here we go. The core of the book is set up like a planner. You can choose or not to have this extra note paper here. You can just have the calendar on both sides, in which case the book is quite a bit thinner. You get the times of lunations, and that's keyed to your time zone. You get natal transits in blue, mundane transits in black, lunar mundane transits in gray. You get planetary ingresses, you get void of course. This is the zodiacal releasing plugin again. And, this is just data, is I think an important thing to know. This is not going to teach you how to interpret any of this information. They do have some resources on their website. There are obviously lots of astrology resources all over the place. This is just personalized data presented in what I find to be a very useful format. So what I've used this for this year, other than telling me that there's a grand air trine, I tend to use this side of the book to write down information from like the astrology podcasts, monthly forecasts, or different kinds of forecasts that I will look at throughout the year, as well as my own interpretations of what different transits might look like for me. I use it as a reference daily, and I look at my transits. This will sometimes inform what my morning reading looks like. I do have a daily tarot/oracle practice every morning, but what that looks like varies widely. I don't use the same question or the same little spread or anything like that. It really can change. It tends to be fairly small. I'm not drawing 20 card readings every morning or anything like that. It could be, maybe 3 or 4. And sometimes I will come up with something informed by the astrology of the day. I really like this as a tool. I think it's a great learning tool. I like to keep them, and I like to look back on them as a way of thinking about and studying transits. So I'm happy to get this book again in the portable, slightly smaller size. Other than that, in terms of the plugins and the add-ons and things like that, I've left it exactly as I had it this year because I liked what I chose. So I've stuck with it. Where I have some sections that I would like to change in my planners are with these two. So my approach for this year has been that the Hobonichi cousin is for journaling, page a day, daily draw, memory keeping, type of stuff. My weather tracking is there. Things I want to keep live in the cousin. And the cousin tends to stay at my house. I don't carry this around with me much, unless I'm traveling for kind of multiple days, in which case I will take it with me so that I can record my daily draws and things like that. But other than that, this lives on my table where I do my reading and my journaling. This, the Kinbor Weeks, is my planner. This comes with me most places. This is what ensures that I don't accidentally forget about going to an appointment. This tells me when I have Zoom calls, when I have, social commitments, different kinds of things like that. I do like to-do lists in here, grocery lists sometimes end up in here. This is the portable get me where I need to go book. So that's the distinction that I've been working with. And I have ordered to have the same 2 books again. the Kinbor Weeks has arrived. So this is the 2026 Kinbor Weeks. It's identical in layout to the 2025. The paper is a little bit different, but not by much. And at 10 a.m. on May 28th, I'm going to the dentist. So that's that's what's in there so far. Other than that, I haven't put anything in, but the dentist book's far ahead, so that's already there. I'll probably use this same cover again, which is from Etsy. KKG Goods was the shop. And some of this has worked really well and some of it has not. So the core of the book is calendar on the left, note paper on the right. And what I have used this for is, again, getting me where I need to go. So the dentist again. Holiday, this was a wedding reception, a day off work. This tells me where I need to go and be at any given time. The right-hand side, the note paper, I will take notes about things I want to remember. I will put to-do lists in there for the week. I will, have this with me at book club, and if somebody mentions, another author or something I want to look into, I'll maybe make a note there. This works very well for me. This keeps me from double booking myself by accident. This keeps me organized. I like the weekly view. This I will not be changing. I'm very happy with that. In the back of the book, there's a bunch of extra note paper, and I just use that as kind of overflow for the most part. I do paste in some things back there, like astrology reference sheets, pictures of my cats, things that I would like to carry with me. So I will keep that the same as well. There's a plan for the New Year spread at the front of the book. I will again do the same thing. I have my animals of the month down here, which is with Tegan of Cosmic Creeper, or Animals and Arcana. I print these stickers on a little sticker printer, Fomimo sticker printer. I make a sigil and word for the year. I will often have some cards of the year or a card of the year. This I like having represented in a way that I can carry with me. It keeps these kinds of practices with me even when I'm just kind of out and about, at work or going about my quote unquote mundane life. So I will use that page in the same way. There's a couple of things that I want to change, and they mostly are the sections in the front of the book. So I tried to use these calendar pages for birthdays and days to remember. So here I've got Albanarthan Holiday, a couple of friends' birthdays are there. I also put things on the different months. I'll put things like if it's a commemorative month or a particular day, like Bisexual Visibility Day, things like this go in this section. But practically speaking, I don't find that I look at this enough to make it useful. So I would like to change this. I think that if I want to have a good hope of actually remembering people's birthdays to say happy birthday on the right day, I need to just put them into the weekly spreads so that I see them more consistently. So if you have a suggestion for me of what to use this for, I would love to know. Similarly, the pages that I will call the index, I put astrological ingresses here. I also have not really made much use of this. I wanted to have these written down somewhere, so that I don't tend to carry around my honeycomb very much. That tends to live at home. So having these kind of ready to hand as a quick reference felt like a good idea, and I do think it's a good idea in principle, but I never look at this. And if I really felt the need to check on the day of an ingress, I could check on my Luna account on my phone if I had my phone with me, or wait till I got home and look in the honeycomb. So this section, I'm not sure what to use either. I know people do kind of habit tracking stuff in here. I don't really have habits that I track in a daily way. Like I'm not going to track, that I drank enough water. Like these kinds of, like these things just don't, I know I won't stick with it. And frankly, I don't have much interest. So I'm not sure what to make of this section. I would be happy to have your suggestions of what you use this section for in your planner. Please let me know in the comments. Finally, we have the beloved Hobonichi Cousin. This was my first year with a cousin. I loved it. I never want to have any other in the near future, so I've ordered another cousin again. It's not here. The core of the Hobonichi Cousin, for folks who are unfamiliar, is that it is a page-a-day book. So in here, each day in the morning, I will journal my daily tarot or oracle reading, whatever that might be. I do some kind of emotional processing in here when I feel the need to write some things down. I write down things that I've been up to that day, things that I've enjoyed, anything that really strikes my fancy to write down. I'm not very decorative. I'm not, filling it with stickers too much. It's mostly just handwriting, occasional doodle, but I would not be without this book, and I really like using this page-a-day for page-a-day journaling, so I will be doing that again. Another section that has worked for me really well is at the beginning of the book, or rather I'll go to that later. At the beginning of each month, I'm going to cover up my journaling here. At the beginning of each month, there's a blank page for the month, and wow, my blotting paper is a mess, as it should be. And I've been using this blank page for each month for my animal of the month, and this year I've had a tree for each month as well. I think for 2026 I might go herb. I'm not sure, but I like this. I write down learnings from my different field guides and things like that, from deck guidebooks, whatever resources I might have that are relevant, and then I have those there and I can look at them throughout the month. I really like this. This will not be changing. Very happy with how that is meeting my needs. I also mentioned that I do weather tracking in here. For that, I use this week kind of setup. So here I've got sun and moon rise and set times. I have readings from my weather station. I write down some readings from my weather station each day. I have a wind gauge on the top of my house and a thermometer and barometer and things like this in the backyard. The rain gauge is analog, so it's not represented on the weather station. I might like to add to my weather station. I've become quite a nerd about this. I could imagine potentially making weather forecasting a ovate project in the AODA. I'm nowhere near ready to propose something like that. This works for me right now. I have some stamps that I add some visual interest with. Historically, I've used stickers. This year I used stamps. I found the stamping messy, didn't love it, but I like this setup. I also write down, the following day, or sometimes I'll do a week at a time, the mean temperatures, highs and lows, things like that are only evident after the day is of course over. Here I wrote down warm patio weather, September 11th and 12th. I was at the pub enjoying the patio later than usual, which was noteworthy. I'll sometimes make notes like that. I'll describe the week over here. This week hasn't been done yet, but so I'm happy with this. This I will keep the same because I find that to be sufficient space. Now, what didn't work for me so well in this one, actually, one more thing that did work. I have a calendar section in this book. I keep track of the decks and other divinatory tools that I use every day, and I count them. So this was new to me this year. I was curious to see some kind of tracking of the kind of use of my collection that I am getting. So I'm not writing down types of readings or number of cards or anything like that. And I'm not tracking down to the level of cards drawn. Just that, for example, on September 1st, I used the Yummy Oracle. I used the Cracked Amethyst Tarot. And then I tally at the side. how many times I've used each. I did share in a mid-year check-in video all of my counts for the first half of the year. So that's been an interesting activity. I think I'll probably do that again. This works. I have consistently used this. And the fact that I've consistently used it and stuck with it tells me that it's worth continuing. So I'm going to keep going with this. Do you track cards drawn? And if so, please tell me about it in the comments, how you do it, and also why. Because I've thought about this, keeping track of what cards I draw in my daily draws, for example. But because I'm all over the place with what kind of questions I'm asking, it feels kind of pointless. I feel like if I was asking the same question every day, or, you know, drawing just a card of the day as a general kind of message, I would feel more inclined to keep track of them. But it feels less interesting for me to know that, say, a particular card showed up a bunch of times in a given month, if it showed up in a bunch of different contexts. Like, I don't know how to make that information useful, so let me know what you do in that respect. I'm curious. Now, the bit in this book that did not get much use, it might still, but I'm not holding my breath, is again this index. I find this kind of layout is a thing that I'm challenged to figure out a use for. Here, we have some averaging information about weather for each month. I could put that there again. I could put it somewhere else. My thought for this year is to use it as a kind of table of contents. So at the end of the year, I could write down, for example, let's say on January 4th, I went to a wedding. I could write that down. If something noteworthy happened, or if, you know, I had a special trip, or like something worth noting that I wanted to be able to find that day quickly, I could write it in here. It feels like it might be useful for, you know, quick reference for astrological patterns and things like that. But I also don't know if it will be useful or not because I haven't done it yet. And at this point in the year, I'm looking at this like, is this really a thing I'm going to do? I don't know. So I would love to find something useful to do with these pages throughout the year. I haven't yet. So I would love to know if you use a Hobonichi or any kind of book that is akin to that, what you use this for. Again, I've seen people do all kinds of habit tracking on this kind of stuff. You know, filling in little check marks and things like that of how many times they've done a particular thing, or like, yes, I meditated today, no, I didn't that day. I don't tend to approach my life in that way. And I think that if I were to pretend that I was going to do that, I would end up fizzling out very quickly. I can't think of anything that I really want to track to the granular level of daily. I did have a suggestion today from someone else in this community, actually, when we were chatting, who suggested, you know, maybe writing down the title of a book as I finish it. That could be a cool way of getting a snapshot of my reading over the year. So that's something I'm toying with. I do have a spreadsheet that does some reading tracking and generates some pie charts and things, but it might be nice to have that kind of memorialized in the book. That I do tend to keep these books. So that's one idea. If you have other ideas for me, let me know. I don't like seeing good paper go to waste. So that is my planning from 2025 so far. I am looking forward to setting up for 2026, and I will show my 2026 setup. Once those books are here and I've figured out what I'm actually doing, I will aim to make another video and let you all know. Let me know what your favorite things to do in your planners or journals or notebooks like this are. I would love to hear. Thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you again soon.